For your own training where you were doing some partial squats, and I don't know, is that a thing that you've messed around with? Did you find any benefit to it? Use it for any clients or anything?
I'm still kind of deciding how I feel about that. I think that of all of the lifts, I probably like partial squats the least. I think there's value in partials on bench. I think there's value in partials for deadlift, depending where a lifter characteristically misses, and just overall what the deadlift looks like. With the squat, I feel like it's hard to explain. So, like with the squat, most people have like a pretty well-defined sticking point, and you're going to find yourself often in not the perfect position when you hit that sticking point, especially with max loads. And I find that one of the differences between grinding out like a normal competition squat below parallel and doing a partial squat where maybe you do squat down to or slightly below your sticking point, but not all the way to full depth, is that like there's not that positional difference. So, I mean, one of the things that helps, I think, a lot of lifters get through the sticking point of a squat is they find themselves in kind of a good morning-esque position, and then if they can get their hips forward just a little bit, not anything extreme, but just, get their hips back to the bar maybe like 2 inches, then they can pop on up with it. Whereas with partials, especially if you're loading it heavier than a normal squat, since you don't have to get all the way to that bottom position, you can maintain like the perfect position to your sticking point and then stand up much easier, but you're not really helping to train the same motor skill as you would if you were coming up from the bottom. So yeah, I what I do quite like is pin squats from just above parallel. I find that they're considerably harder than pin squats below parallel because you can't build up any velocity before you hit the sticking point, and you can be very intentional about maybe even intentionally not breaking the bar off the pins unless you're in like a slightly shitty position. So you basically just practice recovering from suboptimal squats over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I think you probably don't want to do that so much that you then train a bad motor pattern. But I find for me at least that it helps me maintain control better when I do misgroove a lift because, it's not like, oh, I misgrooved a lift and the last time I misgrooved a lift was the last time I took a true max 3 months ago.
Right.
It's like, I practiced this a lot and I know what to do. So I guess that's a partial squat, but it's not
Really what people think of.
partials. Yeah, it's literally just cutting like 3 inches off.
Yeah. I've had similar success with pin squats done in that way. It also kind of brings to mind some of the good morning squats and things like that a lot of us used to do, but seems to have fallen out of fashion these days.
That's still one of my favorite warm-ups.
Yeah, I could see it serving some utility like that. I've gone heavy on things like that before, and it's not gone so well.
No, I can definitely see that. But yeah, like warming up if my hips are feeling janky, I'll start by like taking my normal squat stance and then hinging forward into as deep of a good morning as I can get into, and then from that position dropping into a squat, doing like 10 of those, and then my hips feel nice and lubricated and ready to rock. I don't think I have ever gone over 225, and I don't think I would ever go over 225. I don't know. It seems relatively precarious. I don't think I get really a training effect out of it. It's just
Right.
helps loosen up.
Yeah. Well, and that counts for a lot, to be honest. Something that I've found that's helpful for me when my hip or knee or anything basically is being a little bit stubborn on the warm-ups. I took a page out of your book with the long pauses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just like something really light in the beginning, just sitting, taking a long pause. So like if we're talking about squatting, not sitting fully, but like stopping somewhere where I'm actually not just kind of resting on passive tension, and just I'm still being active. Just hold that position. It seems like that helps. And I think there's some rationale that I've come across as far as like isometrics having a bit of an analgesic effect. And, I don't know. That sounds like a nice enough story that I can go with it. But yeah, that's been helpful for me in terms of warming up. And there's other benefits to it too, that you feel where your position is in space, and that's nice.
I agree. Speaking of isometrics, that's something that I would like to play around with more. I think I don't know. I think it's an interesting concept because theoretically, you can get into whatever position you want. It should be super safe to do, assuming it's the type of isometric where you're like, say for the squat, you just have an empty bar and you're squatting into pins that can't move. If you lose your positioning, what's going to crash on you? The bar, like, it's going to be fine. And also, since there's really no, I guess theoretically, if you like stood up into something so hard that like your hips started shooting up, there could theoretically be like some slight eccentric action